What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Press Coverage, where we help you gain an edge in fantasy football. I'm your host, as always, Wyatt Bertolone. With me today, Jagger Maye, my guy, part of the Player Profiler family. And tonight we're talking about some running back risers and fallers due to the preseason. Jagger, how are you?
I'm good, man. We got real football. This is a fun time because average draft position is the Wild West because everyone's
Yes.
either underreacting, overreacting. Every day is a new adventure, man. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's get right into it because I think we have some really interesting running backs to talk about. First, we're going to talk about the Seahawks. Now, obviously, Kenneth Walker's been dealing with a little bit of injury. They've been holding back just a little bit to make sure he's healthy for the season. But this running offense is looking pretty darn good so far in the preseason. I know preseason, but they're switching to this wide zone offense under Clint Kubiak, who brought over the offensive line coach John Benton, who's been with him, and one of the actual offensive line coaches where like we care about that when we see them joining a team. And this last week, Seattle running backs totaled 216 yards on 41 carries for 5.3 average. That's across all the running backs. Even once we're getting down the roster into some of these backup running backs, everybody was thriving in this wide zone. And I want to know what you think about that in general, and what do you think that means for Kenneth Walker specifically, because we haven't seen him in it fully yet, but also, the backfield as a whole.
I'm all in at cost on all this entire backfield, and I've always have been. The only thing that this has made me change is I'm more. I think more now than I did in the past that Zach Charbonnet can have standalone value where he didn't have that before, especially when you consider that they have Sam Darnold now. I don't know how open this passing game is going to be. So if they can run this effectively, and especially when you have a defensive minded coach that wanted this as a point of emphasis, uh, I've always been on Kenneth Walker at cost. His injury issues were already baked into his cost. You could get him as an RB2. Me, I get him as RB1 because I like getting pass catchers early. And then, like I said, Charbonnet was already pretty cheap. You're already paying handcuff money for him. Now he
Yeah.
might have, again, value on his own. And if Kenneth Walker goes down, especially in best ball, that's a boom. So,
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I was definitely in on Kenneth Walker basically all offseason. I think just number one, I think Kenneth Walker's really talented. I just really
yes.
like him as a player. We saw the pass catching come along last year, and then with these moves with the coaching staff, I was all in. He's been a priority pick for me in the range that he goes. He's been climbing a little bit, but still, like, I don't think enough. And then, Charbonnet is a priority pick. If I don't have Kenneth Walker, I'm definitely targeting him in every draft. Best handcuff I think available, and his price
Mhm.
reflects that, but it's worth it. Yeah, and I do agree with you. Like they could have some, value together week to week, because I would guess this team wants to run the ball a lot if they
Yeah.
have the ability to. And I imagine they can get enough touches for both Walker and Charbonnet to score together. And in a best ball format, especially, you could get weeks where Charbonnet hits your lineup even when Walker is not hurt.
Yep. Exactly, and especially Clint Kubiak likes to throw to the running backs as well. If you look at
Yeah.
Kamara's last season, they've even mentioned that they want to throw to the running backs. That's why I think both of these guys should be targeted. If anything, I've been too light on Charbonnet, but that's just because I've been so bullish
Hmm.
on Kenneth Walker that most of the time I'm not trying to get both at that point. Especially in best ball. So.
All right. Quick question, because I think this may be one of the one teams where you could think about it. Now, I'm not someone who likes to draft same running back, same team. I don't handcuff myself ever in drafts normally. This might be a team where it's a little bit different, because they could both get there in any given week, as we talked about. Are you open to drafting both of them in a league?
Yes.
And does it
Yeah.
matter on the kind of league?
It doesn't matter in the kind of league because and I say accidentally, it's just the way I value them. Like I think Braylon Allen has standalone value. So it's the same situation with them. Like sometimes I'll draft Brees Hall and Braylon Allen. And my thought process isn't that I'm drafting Braylon Allen because I have Brees Hall. My thought process is like, wow, I want some really, really cheap David Montgomery. So then I have that at that point there. And that's I guess like the fantasy mental gymnastics I put myself to. If they have their own value, I want them. And then to give another example, I know that the Cardinals want to get Trey Benson the ball. I don't think that means that James Conner's not going to get the ball. That's a rare case. I just don't want either of those backs. So I'm going to get one or the other. Probably not, I'm just probably not going to get either of them. So, like, again, you have to have standalone value for me to want you, or I'm just betting on someone else getting injured and I just need depth.
Yeah, in best ball, any best ball format, I have no issue drafting both on the same team because you can capture those weeks without having to worry about starting them.
Mm-hmm.
In redraft leagues, it's going to be a little bit price dependent on me just because then you do actually have to commit to
Physically, yeah.
it. But yeah, I am open to that, absolutely. And there are not many backfields where I think you can say that.
Yep.
All right, next one we've got Marshawn Lloyd. So we've been wanting Marshawn Lloyd to be that backup running back to Josh Jacobs and be the little bit of lightning to Josh Jacobs' thunder. I think since he got drafted, he was an exciting prospect. He's got really great explosiveness. I think that could match well with Josh Jacobs, but this dude is absolutely cursed, unable to stay on the football field. Seems like the moment he gets touched, he gets injured in some way. This last week, he was looking kind of good. 6 carries, 15 yards. 4 targets. He only caught one of them, but it was for 33 yards. He played the most snaps with the starters. I say starters with some quotations because, in the preseason, it's a little bit hard to say, but as long as the Packers starters were out there, Marshawn Lloyd was out there, but he picks up another injury. Is Marshawn Lloyd draftable? Because I think that's the honest question at this point. Yeah. He's been at the back of drafts, at the end of drafts all offseason because it's tough to project him when he has this much trouble staying on the field, but he's very clearly Josh Jacobs backup if he's healthy. What do you think?
I can't do it. I'll just say it. I just can't do it. I was off of him, and then we heard the noise. They're like, wow, he looks really good in camp. And then again, we saw even something on the field, but I just feel like people are injury prone. Like injury prone isn't a thing until it is. And at this point with Marshawn Lloyd, I think it's a thing because it's not just what he's been able to do, or rather not do at the pro level. It's going all the way back to college. He couldn't stay healthy either. He had the one season at USC, and that's with incredibly limited touches. Film bros like me had to really extrapolate data to say like, hey man, if you stretch out some of these touches and here's what he could have done in theory,
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to get there. And Trevion Williams is someone I hated as a prospect, but knowing the situation and the usage and what they want to do, I think that they can recreate what they wanted with Marshawn Lloyd in the aggregate. And I'm already wanting to adjust projections a little bit to be a little bit more bullish on Josh Jacobs because I was kind of off of him because it just seems like his workload wasn't sustainable. But we're back to that same point where there's just kind of no one else and you got to give it to him,
Yeah, I'm pretty much in lockstep with you on this one. I have not been clicking Marshawn Lloyd's name very much all off season because I did not like the vibes from the first season. Even if you can explain it away to injury, most of those players don't end up working out in general anyways because they don't have the time on the field in the NFL. They're not getting the reps that they need. They're not getting the practice that they need. So I was kind of off it to begin with. I'm definitely off of it now. I've always thought that Josh Jacobs was appropriately priced this offseason. I haven't clicked him a ton just for structural reasons. Early in the draft, I tend to lean pass catcher more than running back, especially where he was going. There was kind of like an end of a tier for pass catchers, in my opinion, in drafts. But he does really seem like a pretty good bet at this point. I know I need to get some more Josh Jacobs exposure before the season gets here because I have to imagine they're just going to run it back with him, similar to what they were doing last year for him. I kind of like what you brought about Trevion Williams. I also was kind of like, this is kind of a weird prospect. I'm not sure where he's going to fit in the NFL. He's going to need a team who can really find the proper way to use him. Now, Matt LaFleur might be that guy because he's done some creative things. I'll be interested to see if he's getting involved in the backfield at all. I would guess that they would get him some touches back there.
Besides Cleveland, like as you know, like my journey through projections this year, Cleveland was like the first time I did projections, and I'm like, this is not fun. This sucks. Like, trying to figure out what this team is going to do. And then Green Bay was another one, just because it just makes it hard to love anyone because there's so many guys who could do so many things. Because you could see Trevion Williams taking Jaden Reed's touches, and like whether it be routes close to the line of scrimmage or some of those sweeps that we saw. They clearly want a pass catching back, and basically his best usage is when he was used like Cordero Patterson and not as an actual wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do. That now that doesn't mean go out and draft Savion Williams at the end of your draft, but hey, maybe keep him in mind when the season starts. Yes, you're thinking about waivers. If we're starting to see anything going in his favor, maybe someone that we're thinking about.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to take a quick second to hear from our sponsor. And when we get back, we're talking about Trevion Henderson.
Earlier this year, I tore my rotator cuff. I had surgery. It was a mess. They said, oh, it's going to be a year of rehab. And I said, okay. I found an app, Fitbod, which lets me plan my workouts, keep the strength of my lower body, but work on strength and conditioning and flexibility of my shoulder. And man, I so wish I had found it earlier. It plans your workouts every day, how many reps, what time of day, even gives you indicators of where your recovery of your muscles is at throughout the week. It has been an invaluable tool. It's something I credit with my recovery. Working out had always been a mystery to me before. Now with Fitbod, that mystery has been solved. Go to fitbod.me. Fitbod.me and use code PLAYER. Use code PLAYER to get 25% off. That is fitbod.me. fitbod.me/player to get your body to where you want it to be.
Back here on press coverage with Jagger Maye, and we're talking preseason running back risers and fallers, and now we're on to Trevion Henderson. Been the talk of the town basically in preseason. The first week, opening kickoff, returns for a touchdown. Looks amazing. Second week, he plays 9 snaps. He gets 5 opportunities on those snaps. He scores a touchdown. He's being used as a receiver like we wanted. And this dude is just like a rocket ship in drafts right now. Jagger, have you been drafting Trevion Henderson this offseason? How much have you been drafting? And are you still drafting as this price rises?
I'm Eddie Lacy overweight, dog. I'm that undrafted free agent D tackle that can't get on the field overweight, dog. Because I was already drafting him that like this guy's going to be my RB1 when it's all said and done. Like with that mentality. When I was getting him at like RB3 prices, it was good. When I was getting him at RB2 prices, it was good. And I'm okay clicking the button at RB1 prices. And I understand. And I actually think that Ramondre Stevenson, I've started drafting him more of him in best ball. I think he's going to be useful. I watched the Patriots my whole life. They've used 3 backs all the time, but they've been very specific how they've used those backs. And I think this is the one time when Trevion Henderson was the right move. They tried this with Sonny Michel. They're like, man, what if we got someone who did all the things that we want, or at least 2 of the 3 things that we want? And they got it now. And I'm all in, man, especially in PPR, which most best ball is. He's just too attractive, man. It's the Jahmyr Gibbs bet. I've been saying it since I was scouting him in college, like college playoffs. I was like, yeah, I think he has Jahmyr Gibbs upside.
Yeah. Fully with you here. Been drafting a ton of Trevion Henderson this offseason. I'm going to continue to do it. I really don't care what the cost is. I don't know if it can get high enough to make me stop drafting him, just because I think he's that darn good of a player, and I think he's going to be awesome in this offense. They talk about him being their best deep threat. The running back is the Patriots' best deep threat, which is like wild, but that's true. Like, this is the things that I was saying during rookie draft season when we did our rookie draft episode and talked about prospects and stuff. Like, they need him to be a pass catcher for them. When they got to the second round, I think they looked around and said, like, we don't like the pass catchers here, but that Trevion Henderson is a really good pass catching running back and he's dynamic. So let's get him and make him a big part of our passing game. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I think he's going to be really dynamic. And, we don't love making the bet on like hyper efficiency, especially for a rookie, but like, watch Trevion Henderson play. And this is a guy who can be hyper efficient.
Yep. Every touch is like he's doing the same thing we saw in college. In college, it was his health. And then they just got Quinshon Judkins just in case, but whatever, that happens. But like I said, every time this dude touches the ball, he is a threat to score. And there are very few players that we say that about. Devon Achane, Jahmyr Gibbs, there's not a lot of running backs. And that's why I'm willing to bet on him. That's why I kind of got conned. I don't say conned, they convinced me to get some shares of Achane, But like, I'm still trying not to get overweight because I'm like, man, what if I just got Trevion Henderson later and I actually like their off, like the vibes feel better with the Patriots than the Dolphins.
It's true.
And it's just
true.
like, yeah, like every interview report I hear out of Miami is just like, yeah, man, Tyreek kind of an asshole. Like,
yeah, he's like trying to pick the goal line back for the Dolphins. Like, what are you doing, Reek?
Yes, dude.
Yeah, the vibes are so bad out of Miami right now. I know that's a little bit of a tangent, but it is rough over there. And yeah, I'm all in on Trevion Henderson. I don't think we have to say much more than that. Let's get into Miami because that is next up.
I was about to say that's a good segue, man.
You can tell Jagger's professional because we're moving right in to the Dolphins running backs. We're not talking too much Achan right now because we know who Achan is. I think at this point we're happy with who Achan is, and we're excited to draft him. But who's his backup? Because the RB2 for Miami has been a fruitful position in the past. We saw Raheem Mostert score a ton of touchdowns, be very worthwhile in fantasy, even with Achan during Achan's rookie season. Now, going into this offseason, it's projected to be Jalen Wright. So far in the preseason, it's been Jalen Wright first, but he's been pretty bad. He's gotten 16 carries. He's only got 19 yards on those carries. He did score a touchdown, 0 targets. Now, Ollie Gordon, who comes in, a running back who I thought should have been drafted a little bit higher in the NFL draft. It wasn't that long ago. This was a running back in college thought to be one of the next big things before final season in college did not go the way that he wanted. But Ollie Gordon, now, grain of salt, playing against further down on the roster players than Jalen Wright has been, but 18 carries, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Also got five targets, caught 3 of them, 48 yards. Ollie Gordon has straight up looked better than Jalen Wright this offseason. He has played some worse competition than Jalen Wright, I would say. But I think Ollie Gordon is nipping at his heels. Where do you stand with these backup running backs?
Man, I'm gonna be straight up with you. Like, you know how I be in the scouting trenches. I hate Tennessee's offense. Like, it is great for college. Sure, it's competitive. It's great for skill players, but it is a sham, dude. It is some straight up Danimal Disney Sunday morning cartoon baby stuff that they do out there, and it shows, man. How many years are we gonna do this? We like Jalen Wright, he won an award, and then like, where's Jalen Wright now? Like, are you drafting Jalen Wright? No one is, or Jalen Hyatt, excuse me. That was a Freudian slip because now we got Jalen Wright here. That's the same thing, man. He had the one good season in a Mickey Mouse offense, and that's where we're at here. And then Ollie Gordon, it was always the Braylon Allen bet. It was always the Braylon Allen bet with him that this guy popped young, OSU, a doo-doo Mickey Mouse offense that's just not good. Well, okay, let me put it this way. Whereas Tennessee's a Mickey Mouse offense, where they make like the Lion King. What's that one? The straight to DVD one where it's just like the Tiger Cub, essentially.
Oh, it's like Lion's Pride or something like
Lion's
that.
Pride. Yeah, you know what I'm talking
like
about. Yeah,
yeah, I know.
That's what OSU is. It's just not good. It never should have been made. But if you look at the size, speed, the relative athletic score for the initiated out there, and this offense desperately needs depth at running back that isn't the corpse of Raheem Mostert. It just makes too much sense, man. Jalen Wright, every time I look at him, to quote Veep, I hear circus music. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I've been off Jalen Wright all off season because I frankly, I just did not think he was very good. The thing about that Tennessee offense is like the running backs from there don't seem to have the best vision because of the way the offense is built. It kind of just opens up these lanes because they spread out the defense so much using those wide hashes and everything. It kind of just makes it easy for running backs to kind of just explode through the holes that are there. And I realized like Jalen Wright's been down in ADP all off season, but even like when we did our man versus machine show where we were talking running backs that we were going for and one running backs we were fading, I made sure to put Jalen Wright in there as one of my fades. It's like, I just don't think you should waste your time because I don't think his job is safe. I don't want to draft him and have an empty hole on my roster, especially in best ball where there's nothing you can do about it. In redraft, you find out that he's not the RB2 anymore. Like you can drop him, no big deal. But I'm saying like, just don't waste your time. I don't think even if he walks into the season as the backup running back, I'm not sure it lasts.
Yep. Terrible player. Terrible.
All right. Last one of the day. I'm trying to leave extra time for this because I think this is the one we're going to talk the most about and have some really good thoughts and discussion about across all formats. Because I know we've got some Dynasty talk coming for this. And we're going to talk Commanders running backs because Now, I know I said Trevion Henderson's talk of the town, but if someone's going to beat him in that department, it's absolutely Bill Krosky Merritt right now. So the rumors come out that, hey, the Commanders might be cutting Brian Robinson. And we're like, what? They're going to cut Brian Robinson? And then like a couple days later, they're shopping Brian Robinson. I'm like, what? And then they're getting ready to play last night, and they mutually agreed that Brian Robinson will not play in this game. So, I mean, it's hard to think that Brian Robinson's even going to be on this roster anymore. I think it's like all but set that he's not going to be. It's just a matter of what process they go through to get him off the team, whether is cutting them or if a team is actually going to trade for Brian Robinson. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is now going to be presumably in a relevant role for the Commanders. I don't know to what extent. Let's talk about it. I'm just going to open it up to you now from here. Just give me your thoughts on this backfield and what's happening.
I mean, I've gotten conned into keeping Brian Robinson too long now at this point because he was always replaceable talent. He did improve. I won't hate on him and say that he's just not a useful back or anything like that, but it just seemed like he was on borrowed time. The Commanders and the Bengals were those two teams where I basically had mentally broken up with Chase Brown and with Brian Robinson at their cost because I'm like, surely they're going to bring someone else in, and then they just didn't. Getting someone like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the only reason why I knew who he was is Jeff Bell was in on him back when I was with Football Guys. And I remember on a pod with Jeff Bell, he's like, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's interesting. I'm like, is he actually interesting, or is he interesting like he could make a roster and then, like is he Jalen Coker or what is he? Like that's what I was trying to worry about. And then now he goes into an exciting offense that gets players like him in space. And you see a player that's a small school guy like that, and you see it actually translate. I will say that it's rare, but you were making the Dylan Laube bet with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and it actually just paid off this time because we were doing the same thing where like I see Brian Robinson as like a Zamir White, but expensive and a new paint job. And then someone like who's a dynamic back like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, you should have already been on him. And I think he's the better bet now. I know that there's Chris Rodriguez, but you have to question yourself, why didn't Chris Rodriguez do anything last season? Whereas you could say that Bill Merritt wasn't there,
Yeah, I'm trying to project, now that we like have this idea that we're pretty sure Brian Robinson's off this team, trying to think about what the Washington Commanders backfield is going to look like week to week. And I would guess that Bill is going to get most of the 1 and 2 down work. Now, he's not much of a pass catcher. We know that from his college stats and his profile that he did not catch many passes at all. Now, it doesn't mean he can't do it, but just projecting forward, we would guess he's not something he's going to do a lot of, especially because Austin Eckler's there. I do wonder how much Chris Rodriguez will work in. They have worked in extra backs last year, not to an extent that like hurt Eckler or Brian Robinson too much, but they kind of always had a third back getting some amount of touches. I'm having trouble projecting that backfield confidently, and I'm having trouble doing it confidently to get too excited about Bill. Now, I do think where his ADP is starting to get to where now he's like, I've seen him like 8th round now getting drafted. It's a little bit aggressive, but I get it because like we were drafting Brian Robinson there, and you could project Bill to just have Brian Robinson's role. That could happen. So I get why you would do that. I'm still having a little bit of apprehension about it.
Is it the draft capital or the profile?
It's all of the above. 7th round draft capital is concerning, even with him now having opportunity in front of him. Like he's still a 7th round running back. Now I know that some of that's due to like his weird profile of him not being able to play his the entire final season, because his jersey number had played too many games, which is some weird rule that they had. So he like didn't actually play his final season. But his profile, he did play extra years in college too, and he basically only had one really productive year, and it was, lower level. Like I don't think his profile was that great to begin with. I realized that he is a film versus analytics kind of player, because I know that like that's how I found out of him, was film people saying like this guy's got some interesting traits. It's like, okay, well, let me check him out, because analytical profile, not that great, you know. So I'm having a tough time. Like I basically understand how hype people are getting, but I can't quite get there myself.
Yeah, and that's to, the real trouble I think is going to be Dynasty, because in best ball, like once you get past the 8th round, you're more comfortable, or to the 8th round, you're more comfortable at least knowing that you're gambling more than you are in your earlier rounds. It's Dynasty that, like, and that's why, like, I commented on something that you had tweeted where I said I had
Mm-hmm.
three seconds at a stout league, and it was the league winners. I actually went back and checked. It was the league winners second, really stout team. I'm like, yeah, I'll just go get JCM because I really need running back help, and I don't know how often I can get it in this league. When you get in a league with a bunch of good people, that's when those hit rates are for real. Like, because even the guy you think is a sleeper in the third, your favorite analyst is going to take him a little bit higher just so he can get ahead of someone else. So that's the case that I would gamble. If I didn't have a second, I might not do it unless I'm a true contender, and I'm just looking for depth, and hopefully making a move that's going to be the last final infinity stone to help me win the league, you know.
Yeah. So the dynasty conversation is very interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
In a vacuum, I'm taking a second round pick over Bill, just in a vacuum. It's a pretty easy process play for me. If I see a 7th round running back and I can get a second for him, I'm basically just going to do it. And over time, I'm going to win more often than not. I will absolutely lose sometimes. This could be a time in which I lose.
Mm-hmm.
When you have extra seconds, it does become a little bit of a different conversation. But my pushback to it would be, why not go out and trade for James Conner, who I think could be a difference maker in your lineup this year. But then your pushback could be, well, James Conner, how many years does he have left? What if Bill becomes something and I have multiple years of him in my lineup? So it's tough. But for me, like I could not get there. A second round pick, I'm probably just going to take him every time. If I have Ja'Cory Crossett-Merritt on my team, I keep going back between Bill and Ja'Cory Crossett-Merritt. I'm probably going to do that all season. If I have him on my roster, I'm probably not actively looking to trade him for a second, but if someone offered me a second, I'd take it. If that makes any sense, where it's like, if I have a little bit of exposure, I might wait it and see it out. But if someone actually ponied up the price for me, I'll let it go. Like this happened to me with Puka. I unfortunately was not in on Puka as a rookie. I was just a little bit behind. I only got one share in my dynasty drafts, my rookie drafts. I had one. No one ever came to me with an offer. I kept Puka, So it is what it is. But if someone would have, like, if that week 1 happened where he's getting all his targets and people were saying like, oh, I'd trade a first for him. If someone came to me with first, I would have absolutely traded Puka Nacua, at that point. If it was preseason and someone offered me a second for Puka Nacua, I probably would have taken it. It's just those process plays. I think it's something I try to keep going. Obviously there's context to every situation and you have to adjust for that. But because I didn't feel that strongly about the prospect coming into the NFL, I'm just going to take the second.
Yeah. All I could think of is like How I Met Your Mother, which is like getting to be a dated show where like like the way I work, like Barney has rules and then it's always like, unless she's hot. and like that's kind of how I am, where it's like I have a process with a lot of things, but unless I just really like this player, and then I'll throw it out the window. Because like you, man, I was in on Amon-Ra St. Brown before everyone. It was my first year of being a dynasty analyst, and then the data bros bullied me out of trading him. And then like Puka Nacua happened, and then the price for him got so crazy to where I'm like, well, now I'm getting first. I should take him, and I lost some Puka shares now. So I mean, and this is what I tell people, that like there's just no perfect process, and then if you just really believe in if you really believe in the prospect, insulate yourself. That's why I say if I have extra seconds, I will be stupid about Bill Crossett-Merritt. If I don't have extra seconds, I'm probably going to hold and be smarter, and unless something drastic happens. Like if they say that he's our RB1, then yeah, you probably need to start shipping out seconds, and that might be too late at that point. But that's why I think there's like always context. That's why I hate on Twitter. Someone told me I posted my trade. They're like, "That's the worst trade I've ever seen." I'm like, "It's legitimately the worst trade you've ever seen." I was like,
Okay,
Puka
sure,
trades, like you've seen that. It's like the Luka Doncic trade. Like this is the worst trade you've ever
Deshaun
seen.
Watson trade.
Yeah, dude. I was like, come on now. And then he like never responded. And I'm like, okay, that's what I thought. You're being dramatic. That's why like in Dynasty, there's always caveats. And this is why I like conversations like this, because there's might be a scenario where something happens where someone's like, there's no way that I would do that. There probably is in some universe out there if we know anything about multiverses.
Yeah. I'll just finish up by saying, like, dynasty wise, those process plays for me are a way for like keeping myself in check from like
Exactly.
getting too wild sometimes. And I have to understand that sometimes I'm going to lose because of it. I just think over time I will win more than I lose, and it will prevent me from doing something too crazy. But that's why
I'm doing
go ahead.
projections this year, man. Is like even though I'm basically trying to project what I think is going to happen from a tape standpoint, even trying to put in and quantify that makes it reasonable. Like the Arizona Cardinals, for instance, I'm like, do I really think that Kyler Murray is going to have a God mode season? Not in this offense, you know.
Yeah. Now there are other running backs involved here, so I want to touch on them real quick. Obviously, Bill was the big conversation, but all right, Brian Robinson, where do you think he's going? Where would you like him to go?
It's funny. I saw you just tweet this again today. You're like, the Cowboys should make this move. I just don't believe, like, at this point, I think Jerry Jones is doing a bit. At this point, he's just like everyone wants me to do this thing, but I follow the beat of my own drum, and that drum is busted. Like I just don't believe that he's gonna do it. Another spot is the Bengals. I don't. What is Taj Brooks? I don't think he's done enough to say like, hey, you know, he's good enough to where we don't need to give Chase Brown 300 touches. That's the other one. I wish they would just make a move, because I worry what's going to happen to that team that needs to score 30 points every game, and they lose someone like Chase Brown, and then that's a steep drop off from him. And I'm not even the biggest Chase Brown guy.
The other ones I was thinking about were the Dolphins and the Bears, who I think could both use a thumper like that in the backfield. Dolphins would be really interesting. Chicago possibly really interesting. I'm really interested to see where B-Rob's ADP falls to, because it's falling and it's going to fall. And I think he could end up being a player that I want to attack depending on where the ADP gets to. Where's the point in which like you feel comfortable drafting Brian Robinson?
Braylon Allen, where he's at
that
now,
far,
that range. Yeah. Like, or Trey Benson, that range. Cause like to me, once you get to like the Trey Bensons, Braylon Allens, you're buying handcuffs at that point anyway at running back. So Brian Robinson is someone that is essentially a handcuff. You're just hoping that instead of injury that he lands in a spot that needs a guy, you know?
Yeah. I think I would probably take him before I took a Trey Benson or a Braylon Allen, hoping, like if we're drafting right now, hoping that he does land somewhere where I like the role, just taking the bet on that. But it is falling to that point. And then we've got Austin Eckler. How do you feel about Austin Eckler right now?
Zero interest. That's a process play. I actually forgot he was there, dog. That's a literal. He literally Freudian slipped out of my mind, guys. Love the person. He's way too old, man. And like we're already seeing, like every year we're seeing that the age curve happen with him, and I just don't like making that bet that this old guy is going to come in and maybe be useful, especially in best ball. Do you actually think Eckler's going to crack your lineup? You know, like how many weeks do you think he could crack your lineup? Is he going to be there for you when you need him most to actually win money somewhere? I just can't, man. I just can't.
See, that's the one place where I can do it, but on certain teams, because Austin Eckler, like I don't think the ceiling is high enough at all. He is a floor play in my opinion. He'll have a weekly role if someone in the running back room got hurt. I don't think his weekly role really increases regardless. The one thing he's really got going for him is that Anthony Lynn is there, and you know that's his coach from when he was with the Chargers. So he's got that going for him. But if I'm drafting a best ball team where maybe it's a 0 RB team, and I just want to be able to find someone later in the draft that I think I can count on for some points early in the season, I think Austin Eckler is a good pick in those kinds of builds. Any draft where you've already drafted like a couple running backs, 2-3 running backs in the first 6 rounds, 7 rounds, 8 rounds like that, Austin Eckler is probably not worth on this team, because once you're at that point, you want to be drafting those running backs who could hit a certain ceiling that I don't think Austin Eckler can get to.
Mm-hmm. No, makes sense.
All right, Jagger, that's it. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we did
this
it.
was a lot of fun. Love the conversation with you always. Before we get out of here, remind everybody where to find you, find all your work.
Well, I'm over at RotoWire as well as Fast Draft. So if you want in on some best ball action before the rabbit closes, I'll have some content over there. RotoWire, I'm dropping rankings episodes, tiers and rankings, going through that. And then if you're just into like really nerdy shit, we're over at Unbinged. If you're watching Alien Earth or Peacemaker or anything coming at, listen to me and Alfredo yap about that with Sam Holt and our favorite friends. So,
all right, love it. Everyone follow Jagger on Twitter at JagSays. You can follow me at WyattB_FF. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet to the video, please do so. It would mean the world to us. And lastly, if you're not on Fast Draft yet, you can use my code Wyatt for a $50 deposit match. I appreciate all of you. We'll see you next time.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.